Okay, hi everybody. My name is Rachel Starr, and some of you know me from the training committee already. We are here for the Teaching on the Plus Track What You Need to Know training session. And Gennifer Schultz, the manager of Plus Student Support, is our presenter today. So I have turned the presentation over to Gennifer. If you have questions or comments, please post them in the questions section, and I will be keeping track of those and kind of running point on the question sections for Gennifer, okay?
Great, thank you, Rochelle. Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Gennifer Schultz. I'm the manager of Plus Student Support. Thank you for taking the time to be here today. Very excited to review what you need to know about teaching on the Plus track. These recommendations and resources have come from the support of Gabe as well, who has helped to make many of the faculty recommendations. And then also we'll be talking about that I have had with working as the Plus manager with campuses and faculty and students, talking about overcoming challenges and also some really important information regarding resources and software. So thank you so much for being here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is my team, which is the Student Services. David Majaka and myself, we do the Plus Student Support. So we basically support through preparation and resource awareness for students. We do have a Plus Experience course, which is a 3-week preparatory course that we currently offer to 22 of our campuses. Each session, we have added additional campuses. So our goal is to offer this as a resource to all of our campuses by July of this year. We also support student issues. We communicate to all of our campuses and all of the Plus students each week, and we also have an email engagement plan that covers attendance reminders, reminding students that it's the beginning of the week. We also send an email reminding students that there's just a few days left in the course. So campus-based Plus students are very aware of our online student services, Alias, and reach out to us often for support, for help regarding communication issues or problem solving that they might have. So we just also want you to know that we're here to support our students, but also support you with any questions that you might have as you are working with Plus students. The campus responsibilities are different from ours. They do the course offerings. They also are responsible for the student registration into their online courses. Registration can begin early in week 5 in the prior quarter. And also students who are starting in a mid-session, those students are being registered up until the deadline. So currently, as an example, with the 22 campuses that we're supporting, between just on Friday afternoon, we had 40 new students registered to take an online course. Campuses do advise students, and they are responsible for monitoring attendance. Now, the Plus Registrar and my team, we do the reporting to campuses regarding attendance. However, when it comes to processing drops or withdrawals, campus is fully responsible for maintaining that. Now, each campus does have a designated Plus lead that works specifically with Plus students. Most of the time, this is the campus registrar or an academic advisor. However, it can also be a program chair. Those same Plus leads or program chairs also do the course registration for students. Now, unlike fully online students, their support is limited, being that there is not a designated person or group of people necessarily working through registration, enrollments, and advising like they do with the online environment. As many of you are aware, you may have relationships with admissions representatives and academic counselors that you're used to reaching out to, but that can vary when it comes to the campus-based Plus. So program chairs, academic advisors, registrars, they could all be completing the registration for students. Students can also submit registration requests online. Now, why this is important for you to know, and we'll talk about some of the resource and technology awareness, is that students aren't necessarily having a conversation about the academic expectations or the prerequisites, the software, the technology for the course. So we'll talk about some ways that you can help to make sure that students are prepared, and we also work with preparing students early. If students don't know who their PLUS lead is, you can always refer them to our team, which I will put that in the chat area at the end of this session. Our team, Alias, AI Online Student Services at aii.edu. We can facilitate following up with the student and the campus, and also ensure that you have the appropriate PLUS lead. Now, there is an instructor resource for the PLUS aliases that you can use. I'll also put the hyperlink here in the chat area for you later. And your lead faculty will have the full list of academic departments and contacts if you should have a question or need support throughout your work with students. The PLUS alias, each campus is responsible for maintaining that. However, as staff changes and as leadership changes, there may be a need for us to review those PLUS aliases. So if you are not getting a response back, again, you can inform your lead faculty and our team. Our team recently went through all of the PLUS aliases for campuses and submitted UARFs to ensure that the appropriate contacts are in place. So you should see some improvement if you are using the PLUS aliases just recently. However, if you do come across a PLUS alias that you are not getting a response from, that is when you would want to let us and your lead faculty know so that we can facilitate that communication. There is another group of folks that support PLUS students on campus, but they are behind the scenes, and that is the PLUS Registrar team. The PLUS Registrar team builds the PLUS schedule and configures cross-references between campus courses and online courses. Now, we'll talk about why that's important for you to understand. They also maintain our operational resources. So the course offerings for campus, each course does select the courses that they choose to run, and those configurations may be different from campus to campus. They also maintain the registration timelines and all of the grade data for our campuses. Now, our campuses do have a designated area that they can find all of this information, and that's the PLUS SharePoint. My team also has recently been working to train our campus staff, PLUS leads, admissions, and advisors on all of these resources, and also including information regarding how our resources available and you as a faculty work with students. So we have been conducting training on all fronts to help improve the results that you'll have with your PLUS students. You may from time to time also get requests to reinstate or a student issue escalation. Those are managed by the PLUS Registrar group. We often facilitate those requests from campus who aren't sure of the process or from students who don't know where to go. But ultimately, that is all housed in the PLUS SharePoint from our PLUS Registrar team.
Gennifer, we have a question about the PLUS leads. Peter says his question is, so we will personally know who the PLUS lead for any course or student is. Is that correct?
Actually, no. Faculty would want to use the PLUS alias listing.
Okay.
So and that I will provide in a URL at the end of the session.
Okay.
So you can see that. On the PLUS alias, though, most likely the registrar and advisor, a program chair, and also the dean would be on that alias. So send the information or any requests you have to that alias so that all of the appropriate parties will get the information.
Okay, so multiple people will be getting the information when you send something to that alias.
Yes, correct.
Great, okay.
Any others?
Nope, not right now.
Okay, great. Now, I talked about why it was important to understand the PLUS Registrar team and the articulations for campus. So there are at times courses that appear different on a student's schedule than that in our online environment. One of those, for an example, is the biology. So students will see on their course schedule or in their academic portal bio listed, but when they get to the online course, they're taking a nutrition course. So that's important to understand because some courses take the place of multiple courses on campus. So if you get a student who comes in and says, I don't think I'm supposed to be taking this course, my schedule says bio or something along those lines, that is when you could have the student reach out. So you can refer the student to the registrar, or you too could reach out to our team or that plus Alias. But in most cases, the student is in the right course. It's a matter of the course code that they see is different from the online course code. And let me I pulled this up in the Virginia Beach student portal. So I want to talk about that for a minute too. You'll see here, this portal that campus-based students use to log in is the campus space. Each portal is pretty similar, but different in that the heading would be, their campus. I'm currently looking at the Virginia Beach portal. And you can see here that on the right-hand side, this is where they would access their student email, which we'll talk about as one of the communication problem solving later. But students would access their student email here on the home of their portal. They can also scroll down, and this is where they would see their course under the bright space.
Gennifer,
now you'll see
here. In and out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Your audio is coming a little bit in and out too. Is it any better?
Dear. Okay. Yeah, it's better right now. So
okay.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
So you can see here, this is the online course code for the student. But I'm going to show you what students see and why there might be confusion. Under the academic affairs, this is in the student portal. When I scroll down, now this is an example of a grade. So you can see the course for survey of advertising on campus is AD 100, but our online course code may be ADV. So if you have students with those questions, again, you can refer them to their registrar or to our team to confirm they're in the right schedule. But we get a lot of questions from faculty regarding that, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Okay, any questions regarding that or the portal while I'm there?
Is there any way to know which classes would be substituted ahead of time?
Unfortunately, I think that's too difficult of a question to answer because each campus has their own list of course substitutions.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we've been working on trying
campus
to get something
specific. Okay.
Correct. But, one of the most common, for example, that we get is that it's so different is between the biology and
okay.
Now, so we talked about the student registration being done by campus. Now, again, so their course description and requirements may not specifically be being reviewed just like they are with an online, they don't have a specific academic advisor who's working, with a small group of students like our online folks do. So at the time of registration, they may not be going over the course description and requirements. So one of the things that we have been doing in our webinars is talking about in the portal where students can locate their online courses ahead of time and review the course descriptions. But day one could essentially be the first time students are seeing their course syllabus, the description and requirements, and also, what they're needing for the course. So something that you can do to help would be to post announcements in your course and possibly begin reaching out to those students at first day or even prior with your specific course requirements to help prepare those students. Also, there are some cases where if you are teaching a course where they need to purchase a hard copy text, strongly advise that you reach out. If you are one of those faculty members, I would love for you to email me so that I know those courses and can also reach out to students, but definitely those are the ones that we get the most concerns or questions with from campuses where students weren't aware they needed to purchase a textbook it's not digital. So one of the things, again, that we are working to do is try to get that list early. So if you are a faculty member who has a course like that, definitely let us know so we can help facilitate that. Now, also, this is one of the most common problems that we face would be with announcements in the classroom referring to software vouchers or reaching out to the academic advisor for the software. Plus students do not receive software vouchers in any form. This is very different than our fully online students. So announcements and things that you are posting if you're teaching on the Plus track should be different than those you have on the online environment. For example, the Adobe Creative Cloud, students can use the student subscription pricing with their student email. That's $19.99 monthly as an annual subscription. Toon Boom, there is no EDMC software package for Plus students, and I actually think that that's going away anyway. But again, for software, campus-based students may be relying on their campus computers and software and equipment, or if they're using that at home and they're not commuting to campus at all, they would need to purchase that. So again, that is extremely important that we don't tell students there are software vouchers for the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, students do receive the Office 365, and that's located directly in their email Office 365 area, just the same as it is for online students. Do we have any questions about that?
So they get Office, but that's it. Everything else they get they would get on their own.
Correct. Yep. And many students we find are using campus computers for their work. So we do, when we talk to students, and what we've been doing with our training staff is, if that's the case on campus, they need to discuss with them, making sure that they're still meeting their due dates and their assignment deadlines. And that they also have the library, the computer hours, so that they can be on time with their assignments. But occasionally you might get that student who says, well, I don't have access to this because I can't get to campus this weekend. We are trying to facilitate and support that when we speak to students, but that generally has been one of the common things that we need to work to overcome. Yes, here's the email Office where students would get that in their portal.
Right. So yeah, Susan says this has been a big problem for her when they don't have the software and they don't get to campus very often for some reason. Maybe they only, And Melissa has asked about the library. So all students do have access to the library, which means they would have, she refers students to lynda.com and Pluralsight tutorials, which are accessible from the library. So that would be fine, right? I mean, that's still good.
Actually, so students have access to the online library from within their classroom, and also to lynda.com from within the classroom. I actually have, I think that's coming up in the next slide or two, and we can review that, and I can show you where to access that as well, where the campus-based students access it.
Okay. Oh, I think it might be a little bit different. That's correct. Yeah. I remember that being a thing. So, okay. So she's going to go over that. Okay.
I am. It actually might be on the next slide. Let's see.
Jack wants to know if they download Office to the computer, or is this cloud only for Microsoft Office?
They can download it. Yes. So here I am. So I'm going to go in. So here's the email Office 365, and you can see it's just the same as, this is how students log in online. So I'm currently in the Virginia Beach sample. It's given a minute to load, and you can see here, they can install the Office apps, and this is also where they would check their student email. Of course, they can also use those online as well. And we cover all of this in our Plus webinars that we have. In the resource pages that I have been sending out early, usually the week before or the day, I apologize, it was late this session, the day of the start, we do have information for our current Plus webinars. I definitely encourage you to post those in the classroom. We are going, for the May 10th session, we actually have one on the first day. So If students have questions, you can definitely refer them to come to that webinar where David and I go over all of this information in a 1-hour session, including the course syllabus, requirements, checking email, etc.
Kathy has a question about hardware. She says that when they don't have hardware to support the software, there's a problem. Is there anything that we do about that, or do they just typically send them to the campus lab and stuff?
Yeah, in that case, I would refer that student, and you can also, on behalf of the student, explain the situation and CC that plus Alias. You can also include our team because we can also reach out, but campuses should be aware of those situations so that they can work through the appropriate actions with the student. So it might not be the best case for that student to be registered for an online course in a session that they can't make it to campus if they aren't able to meet that hardware.
Okay, all right. And Yuri had a question. He didn't hear if the students had access to the online library. Yes, they do have access to that, Yuri, so.
Yes. And that would actually, I can show you now. Let me cover that. So here, so when students are in the online course, their Brightspace organizational homepage is different at their campus. That is a campus level. But usually that AI help that's up here, students actually have to go into the course to have that access. So I'm going to do that and show you that now. This is our experience course that we offer the 22 of those campuses currently. So the students would be able to, from their course here, go to the help and the AI online help, and they will have access to these resources. This is the only they can access the lynda.com, the on-demand tutoring, the plural site, and then there, you can see there is a link here where they would go to our online library.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that answers Susan's question. And
Perfect.
Jack wanted to make a point that the citation tool for Office in Word is not available online or fully available. So if they want to use that feature, they would need to download the software.
Oh, good to know. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, and Patricia says that you're fading in and out again. I'm not getting that, but anyway, just so you know.
All right, let me close some applications here to see if that might help.
Oh, right, because it may be slowing it down.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening here. Okay, let me come back to the presentation. Is that any better?
It's good for me, yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Nicola says yes too, okay.
Okay, great. Sounds like it's time to contact technical support for a new device.
Yeah.
So some challenges that students have had is, being willing and to ask for help. So especially for those new students, it's very different for them working with an online instructor. We work really hard to explain to students who we see in the webinar. We talk about the instructor commitment, the 24 hours during the week and the 48 hours, but oftentimes we get students who come to us and say, hey, I sent a question to my instructor and it was 6 hours ago. I haven't received a response. So, we do make sure that we cover that with our students. But if you get a student who's maybe getting antsy, it's because they're used to being in that classroom and getting the answer right then and there. So as far as students being willing to ask for help, they may not be. Some things that you can do would be to encourage the communication, check in weekly, and follow up with students who are not participating as often as you are able. Gay also suggested offering virtual classroom meetings to provide some additional support. Remind students of the student email and the student portal. Many times we get students, or from campus we hear the instructor's not reaching back out to the student. Then you might get an email from me and the student, and most of the time that student just wasn't checking for student email. So again, we talk about this when we speak to students, but since we can't talk to every student, we did provide to your leads a document that students can walk through setting up the auto forward in their student email. It's actually pretty simple. If they search auto forward in their email, the instructions come up. Again, we do encourage those students to use the student email as their primary source so that these issues aren't occurring on a regular basis. If a student's sending an email to you from their Yahoo or the Gmail, we do suggest responding to the student to their Yahoo or Gmail, but copy their student email on that so that they are receiving the response in both areas, and then also informing them to start using their student email. You can find the student email in your Brightspace. If you hover over or look at the roster, the student email will populate. So that might be a little, require some additional work when you're checking email to be able to open the class and to find that, but that would definitely help alleviate any concerns that students have. Instructors they're thinking aren't responding, but they might not be getting the message. Students do struggle on campus with time management and meeting deadlines because they are used to a course that's over an 11-week period. So you can set up your calendar, remind students of deadlines often by posting weekly announcements and sending emails to students. Also be sure to refer students to the attendance and the late work policy in the course, or to your own if it varies. If your attendance and if your late work policy varies, definitely post that information to students and be consistent with that so that they are aware of what those penalties will be. Some resources for students in addition to faculty, as we do discuss with students, those questions that come to you should be assignment questions and support in the classroom. But if students have questions, technical questions, we do refer them, and obviously would like you to refer them to the technical support for portal errors or class access issues. If you get a student, you may have a student who unable to access the portal or reaching out to you, consider preparing for this by posting a portal policy. What students should do if they can't access the classroom or if it becomes unavailable for some reason. What steps should they take? Who should they reach out to? We talked about the toolbar. Plus students do have access to the lynda.com. They also have access to the on-demand tutoring through the Thinking Storm. Recently, that's been updated. Students are given 8 hours per month. And then again, resources again that we've talked about on campus would be their plus leads or that Alias, which generally is an advisor or registrar. You can also refer students to reach out to their campus tutoring centers as well for additional support if they're struggling in the classroom. So we actually covered this toolbar help. Again, students who are taking online courses on a plus track do have access to this. Ground students do not have access to the same information. So again, you wouldn't encounter those because they're going to be in your class. They're an online student. We do get several questions regarding resources and tutorials for AutoCAD, for example. We refer students to the help forums as well for those resources, but you can also consider adding additional resources, making sure that they are appropriate to the class being taught, and also posting your own resources. Another major difference between the online course and the on-campus course is for students balancing that 11-week schedule versus the 5.5-week course and managing time for both. And we do encourage the understanding of online expectations to our students and in the training that we have been conducting with staff. But students may not be aware of that time commitment, the attendance requirements, the software. So again, posting those announcements regularly, having students reach out to their campus and our team are all things that we can do to support that. We did already talk about the miscommunication errors that we had received because students are not aware of the student email or the instructor turnaround time. So you can also post this in your classroom so students are aware early on of the time frame they can expect to hear back from you. The late work guidelines and deductions, again, posting these early in the course is extremely important so that there is consistency. And if you are posting or allowing students extra time for work, we definitely recommend that you include this in your gradebook comments. One of the questions we we get most often would be, can I?
Gennifer, you're fading out. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay, so one of the
Yes.
questions that we get most often is, can I turn assignments in after the weekends? Now, we refer students to that late work policy, but if yours is different and you have extended to a student extra time, we do recommend that you post that information when you are making the gradebook comments. Being very detailed is important because our PLUS leads and registrars do also have access to the Brightspace classroom and can review student progress in the course. And we encourage that when a student comes to us with an issue or a problem. So if you are posting detailed comments regarding the reason for the additional time or the reason for a 0 on assignment, that's only going to be better for you and allow also for better resolution of an issue. For faculty teaching on a 100 or 200 level course, ask if these students are new right away, especially in the mid-session. We do get new enrollments for brand new students, not only to the online class, but also to campus. To recommend these students attend a webinar and understand their course requirements by checking the course description and syllabus. I believe that you do call students, so make those initial calls early to confirm they understand the requirements. And if they don't, and there are concerns regarding student registration into maybe it's not appropriate for them to be in your course or they don't understand the requirements, email our team and the PLUS Alias so that we can help to resolve that. You can also, if students who are unresponsive or struggling or have an issue, you can CC the Campus PLUS Alias so that those folks who are working with the students are aware and can also reach out and extend support while you too are working through those student concerns or questions. So again, the more that we can involve the campus and those resources, the better off for our students and us. Questions that we get regarding some of the processes for students are centered around student issue escalations, complete or extended time requests, and also requests to reinstate process. We do support these from our students very often and from our campus, but these are all items that are housed by the PLUS registrar team. So if the campus registrar or PLUS support staff determines that a student may have a valid reason to be reinstated into an online course, they would submit a request to reinstate. This is completed by campus and electronically submitted to the PLUS Reg. Now, how you are involved is this does require faculty approval. So this is at your discretion and would be included in the decision once this request to reinstate is submitted on the resource link. If you can respond to these promptly, that will help to facilitate students getting back into the course as early as possible. When you are receiving a request from a student, CC that PLUS Alias or make sure that you're replying all so that everybody who is included on that initial communication is included in the thread to help support that process for the students. Now, for students who have concerns about, timing, an assignment, a grade, or communication, those students can go to their campus and let them know about a concern. The process would be, and the process that we have trained on is for those campuses to thoroughly review the classroom first to determine if there is a valid complaint or issue. Many times they'll come to us and ask us to review, and we do that and provide information for this. However, if there is enough information to suggest that a situation does need review, the PLUS lead would submit a student issue escalation to the PLUS SharePoint. And this can be in the form of communication issues, incorrect classroom content, late work, conduct. These are submitted while the course is in session. And also for assignment grade appeals, those will be submitted within 30 days of the end of the course. That piece you might not necessarily be involved in, but it's just important. I want you to understand that process so you are aware. The incomplete grades or extended time requests, you may receive those from students. Those requests can come from students. If you are receiving those requests, when you're making a decision to allow more time, CC again the Campus Plus alias, so everybody is involved in that decision. And also so students are, so the advisors are aware if somebody is being given extra time in the class, they may need to adjust the schedule that they're taking next session. So for example, if you give a student an F, the registrar most likely is going to reschedule that class the next session. But if they're being offered extended time or that incomplete, it's important for the campus to know so they can help follow up not only on the registration process, but specifically with that student to make sure they're meeting the time frames. When you get these requests from students, be sure to include details about the timing that students would be given, and the most information that you can include, the better. Again, those are at your discretion and need to be approved by you. You will most likely receive those from the student or from that Campus Plus lead. And again, this is most likely processes that many are familiar with, but if you're new, this is hopefully some new good information. Do we have any questions about that? Okay, if you do have questions, you can definitely reach out to your lead faculty.
I have a few questions here. Do you want to go over them now, or do you want to wait? I have kind of a list.
Yeah, we can go over them.
With some general questions. Okay. All right. So Jack wants to know if we can get a list of the campuses that have the prep course.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And Carolyn says, how do you keep students from dropping out? I find that to be a challenge. I have tried calling and emailing. That's going to be kind of across the board, not just Plus students, but
yeah.
So just record all of your contact information. I mean, all of your contact attempts, in the grade book, and then reaching out to the alias. I think where the students on campus would have the best. They're going to have the best luck reaching some of those campus students.
Yeah, definitely. That's why include those Plus aliases, because you might find that that student is on campus. They'll know the schedule. Many times when I get those requests, I get the advisors like, oh hey, John's down the hall later today for his campus class. I'll go ahead and catch him after class. So it might be that the phone or the email is not updated. That can be a challenge. If you are continually trying to reach the student who can't, CC the alias and even our team so that we can make sure that we can reach out to campus, update the contact information for the student. And many times it might be one of those issues where a student's just not checking their student email. So we can definitely facilitate that. And again, campuses too have been very helpful when you let them know, running down the hall to grab those students and let them know.
Okay, great, thank you. And then Mike says, if we send a student an email through the roster, is that email saved anywhere? It's not, Mike. I can answer this one. But you can CC yourself. You can click on your own name on the roster and also send it to yourself, and that way you can save it that way.
Have you seen the sent mail feature in the Brightspace? Because I'm able to see this emails that I sent.
It depends on how you do it. If you go through the roster, it sort of doesn't. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And we're having a small problem with fading again, apparently, although it seems to be fine right now.
Okay.
Okay. Peter said, as asking about late work policy. He says he generally discourages late work and enforces a typical point deduction penalty, and wants to know if that is not recommended with Plus students.
That's a good question. So, depending on, I would say it depends on the circumstance. I mean, I can't make that decision. Of course, the late work policy is what it is. There may be, you may find that there are students who are continually taking advantage of that and your kindness. But if you are somebody who is strictly enforcing that policy, I would make sure to post it in the announcement early and communicate that so there's no question about it later. aside
Okay.
from those instances where there's mitigating circumstances, we do, unfortunately, we are improving, but there is a challenge with students, timing and, managing both the campus-based and the online course. So when I have this discussion with Kay, her recommendation was to be a little bit more lenient with these students, understanding that they, there are some struggles that they face regarding the support, et cetera. But I think that can be, again, determined based on that situation and how much the student is taking advantage of that. I always recommend to students, if they are having a question or they need extra time, to reach out before the assignment due date to ask for that help and to get the help that they need prior to the due date. But if a student's 2 weeks just unresponsive and then, coming to you with, hey, will you accept this late work? Personally, that wouldn't be what I would do.
Right.
But I'm not really equipped to simply offer my opinion based on my experience, or just, I think that is, again, at your discretion.
Okay. So at our discretion. Okay. Melissa says oftentimes students will ask for step-by-step guidance, which she usually replies with a tutorial link. However, sometimes this is not enough, so she does a little demo, which sometimes then is still not enough. And the way she explains it to the students is that she guides them through their projects as a whole, and that bit by bit they need to experiment with and figure out some of this on their own. And she wants to know if there's a better way to kind of encourage them to sort of, leap out on their own, to kind of get these, branching out on their own a little bit, instead of being quite so, wanting.
I understand. So, encouraging the additional resources that we do offer, encouraging also the, problem solving. And I would say just those particular situations, it's important to follow up, because in those circumstances, we may see a question from a student saying, I asked my instructor for help or for a phone call, but they sent me this tutorial instead. So I would also say, to be responsive to what type of help they need, offer the right resource, and then also consider voice to voice with those students. Oftentimes a quick phone call can resolve those during your office hours, and those are times that we also encourage for students to check the office hours, and if they need support, to plan for that and reach out to you during those times.
Okay. And Melissa says that even when she has an e-college kind of class that hasn't been converted to Pinnacle, that she's still allowing revisions to sort of give it a little bit of a Pinnacle feel. And I think that's great with Plus students. The revision process is good for everybody. So
definitely.
Okay. And Susan said that I found that some courses are constructed in such a way that they are asked to do work that they are in no way prepared to do. For example, creating a brand, which will involve stationery with a logo when they have no background in design or typography. This to me seems to be a recipe for disaster, and I can't think of anything more discouraging to a student than being asked to do work they don't understand. I think there's a mismatch that's bound to make them drop out. So I guess she's talking about students being prepared for the content in the specific course that they may be enrolled in.
Yeah, so I think early determining that information or that early is important specifically. So if you're finding that a student is completely unprepared or does not have the information or the background, those are definitely instances you would want to let the campus know. It may be a matter of ensuring that doesn't happen in the future, so that they are aware of what those expectations are. They may also need to consider updating their cross-references and their course offerings regarding that. So that simply, again, program chairs are also, completing those schedules, and they may simply just not have the right information when making that. So if that is the case, and that sounds like an extreme circumstance, I would certainly reach out to your lead faculty so that they can facilitate that communication back to campus, so that we can, if we need to, get that student into a different course.
Okay. Okay, so definitely, if they're not ready, it's very clear they're not ready, please reach out to the Plus Alias, okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Melissa wants to know if screen sharing is a good option. So like a Skype kind of a screen sharing thing where you're actually talking to them and helping them.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
would be great. Yeah, very helpful. Joan says that she finds that a strict policy with a 25% penalty results in on-time delivery, but that 10% penalties aren't taken seriously. That may be true. I think it depends. Jack says that he tells his students that they need to use their student emails because the Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, etc. are often screened as spam on our or quarantined for us and can end up in a spam folder or the quarantine thing, and this can increase the time to respond, because it takes us a while to get to those if the enterprise decides to quarantine it. So that's a good point to notice.
That's definitely.
Melissa, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Melissa wants to know what we can use for screen sharing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So for screen sharing, Skype. And if you have a student who needs help setting up their Skype, you can send them to our team. We'd be happy to reach out and help set up that Skype to help facilitate your communication with the student if they're not familiar with it.
Okay. All right. Okay. And Natalie wants to know if it's 10% per day late. That is, Natalie, it's up to you how you want to handle the policy. The gen ed classes I know have a point for turning it in on time, up to 20 points. So it's part of their grade, just as a matter of course. So it all depends on how it's done. The late work, but review the late work policy. You can do up to 10% per day. You don't have to though. Also, Kathy says that virtual classroom in Brightspace does allow screen sharing, and that's true. So Joan would like you to review again where instructors and students may go for help or to answer questions about PLUS students. I guess maybe go back a couple of slides or something.
Are you talking about the tutoring resources?
I think she's talking about the tutoring resources. Is that right, Joan? No, not the tutoring resources. Okay.
Okay.
She says, she's looking at the question in the quiz. Okay. If you have quiz questions, please direct those to Hannah Miller, okay? Also, you can download the PDF. It's in the handout section, okay? Sheila says,
Sorry, go ahead, Rochelle.
Gennifer? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sheila says, do you offer extra credit opportunities? As a rule, Sheila, I don't believe that we are supposed to be offering extra credit opportunities. Sometimes we give them out for webinar attendances and things like that, but typically I think that's programmatic. But you want to check with the lead faculty and see if you can offer extra credit opportunities. Okay, Joan says she doesn't understand why students and teachers would be going to the same place for help. I'm
not sure where that was referring to. Yeah, the students and teachers aren't going to the same place for help.
No, you wouldn't be going to the same place for help.
So if you need help regarding like locating student information or communication with a student, you would copy the Campus Plus alias. But also, yes, because those are the campus-based contacts. That's also where students can go for help, would be the campus-based contacts, in addition to the resources and our team. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I think she's talking about a quiz question about where it says, where can you or your students go for help or to answer questions? And it's the same email we would go to. I mean, regardless.
It's our team. Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's the same person. It's the same
team. We didn't cover.
So yeah.
Correct. If you need help locating a resource or help with a PLUS student and you're not sure what to do, you can email our team and we'll guide you. Just the same for students. So yes, you can also reach out to our team. Trick question, huh? Now, I
Okay,
included
so
in
we
the
are.
chat area just now the 2 hyperlinks that you might have to copy and paste them, or I can send them to you if you want to include them in the follow-up. But there is the instructor resource plus alias listing is on the URL for all of those campus-based plus aliases. And then I also included a link to our plus classroom information and resource sessions. That URL is updated every month with the current sessions. So you can direct students to go there. If those students who are struggling with navigation and, filling up your questions for the professor area with how do I submit an assignment and where do I find this, you can refer those back to that webinar. We cover all that information.
Okay, great. I added the quiz link in chat, so be sure you're checking there, everybody, okay? All right, if there are any other questions, go ahead and post them. I'll give you a couple of seconds. I'm getting a lot of thank yous here, so that's great. Okay, the extra credit thing, Melissa, that is based on, you need to talk to your lead about that. Typically, as a rule, the Art Institute does not support extra credit unless there is something that your department is doing. So please reach out to your lead faculty about that specifically. Yes, faculty who view the recorded version will have access to the quiz. That is up in our in the faculty development area. Okay, I think that is pretty much it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gennifer. Thank you so much for presenting.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.